All right, welcome back. We're here with Lisa Briggs of the Bruce
Hello.
Company. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
Good. All right, let's get to some questions here from our folks. Julie is asking, our ornamental cranberry tree was plagued with cedar apple rust, sprayed with a copper-based fungicide. I don't know about that one.
Okay.
At blossom time.
All right.
Will the berries come back next year?
Okay, so I'm saying she's probably got a crabapple tree, not
Okay.
a cranberry tree.
Okay.
And so cedar apple rust is a fungus that is pretty prevalent on a lot of different plants, but there are different varieties of fungus that attack different plants. And it's what we call an alternative host disease. So it starts on one plant, usually some kind of juniper, the cedar part of it.
Sure.
And then it infects the other host. And it could be crabapple, it could be hawthorn, it could be roses, a number of things. So there are some practices you can do. Spraying them at blossom time is not the best time. What you want to do is you want to start spraying at what we call petal fall.
Okay.
When about 75% of the petals have dropped off the blossoms, and then every 10 days to 2 weeks after that, as long as the temps are warm and the air is humid.
Sure.
Now, as far as it does get all over the cranberries, it looks kind of furry on them, like a little furry, fingery kind of structure.
Okay.
You want to do really good cleanup. The fungus will overwinter, so rake up all of the leaves, rake up all of the old fruit, and then begin the spraying next spring at petal fall. And then, like I said, every 10 days to 2 weeks after that until maybe July when the weather really dries out and gets really warm.
All right, there you go. All right, next one. Christy wants to know if you could talk about bottom watering and what plants to use or avoid using that.
So bottom watering is usually used for plants anything with a furry leaf. So we're talking about like African violets, for instance, because or begonias. Anything where maybe the root structure is kind of cup-shaped, like a begonia, like a bulb, where the water would get in there and rot it. And also it's super useful for orchids because they're not actually planted in soil. It's a different kind of medium.
Okay.
And also, if you have plants now that are super root bound, but it's not a great time of year to repot, bottom watering works well for that too. So sometimes like for ferns.
Okay.
And what you want to avoid are the plants that like drier conditions, like any sort of cactus or dracaenas or things that like to be underwatered as opposed to overwatered.
Okay. Good info there. We got one from Donna in our email. Is there a burning bush called a war burning bush?
I have not heard of a variety of burning bush called war. I know there's like Little Moses. There's Chicago Fire, they're number ones. I have not heard of that one in particular, but they introduce new plants all the time, and so I'll look it up when I get back to the store.
There you go. All right, you brought a few things in for us.
did.
Let's talk about those.
So I brought in some sort of tree-shaped houseplants.
Okay.
So if you have a little windowsill or some like, little tableau you're doing on your mantle, and you want something that's sort of Christmas tree-shaped but not an actual Christmas tree, we have another number of things at the store. So this is actually a lavender, so you can smell, kind of squish it.
Pretty.
Yeah,
Oh
super
yeah, you
fragrant.
gotta get the oils going.
Yep, we also have rosemary at the store, and then these are a couple of cypress. And so these are just plants, house plants that would do well in a bright, light situation. The rosemary would like a humidity tray kind of situation, like a little humidity around it, but really cute. You could put little bows, little lights on them.
Garnish a cocktail with it too.
And, yes, and then eat with it. Then you put it in your soup.
Yeah, that's great. What else, maybe outside of your traditional pine tree too, if we want to do something a little different.
Yeah, and there are a number of indoor pine trees like little dwarf Alberta spruces or Norfolk Island pines will do that same kind of thing. If you're having a traditional Christmas tree in your house and you want to make sure it stays fresh, then the thing to do is to make sure it gets a fresh cut on it before you bring it into the house and put it in the stand, and then keep that water level high all the time. So check it every day. We had a drought in Wisconsin this year. That's where all our trees come. They're grown in state. And so they're not maybe as completely hydrated as we like to see them. So you're going to want to check it every day. You do not want that water level to sink below the cut because it dries out pretty quickly.
Okay.
Lots of people talk about different things to put in there, aspirin, Sprite. I personally use hot water. I don't know if it makes any difference, but it makes me feel better, like I'm doing something a little extra for it.
All right, Lisa, that's all we got time for. Thank you for joining us as always.